morning. Welcome to the breakfast show on TSL Nigeria TV. It's been an amazing weekend. For me here, you know, we've been going through our election process and it has been crazy, to say the least. But we're here. It's a Monday. I'm feeling excited. My name is Joyce Chooks. Hi, darling.
Hi, Joyce. It's good to have you back on set.
Thank you. And your name?
My name is Nikki.
And we're not alone, of course. Hi, darlings.
Hi, I'm Adrian Omugiade.
Hello, I'm Chioma Necheta.
Okay, how was your weekend?
It was perfect.
Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Nikki?
I voted.
Are you sure?
Of course.
Because we have clips.
I did vote.
Okay, wonderful. We're going to start you guys off with the newspaper review this morning. I have a copy of the Vanguard, and I'll just go ahead. For Monday, March 11th, 2019. For the major stories, we have INEC halt polls in Rivers, Azikwe Azu, Umai, and others win. I'll go again. INEC halt polls in Rivers State as Ikpeazu, Umai, and others win. We also have APC wins Lagos, Kwara, PDP takes Ebonyi, Oyo, Enugu, Abia. We have a Plateau lawmaker dies after winning re-election. You have that on page 7. And we have the UK worries and says the military interfered with elections in Rivers State. We also have the plane crash that cost 157 lives in Ethiopia. Very, very sad. We also have GT Bank in the news. GT Bank apparently records 215.6 billion naira profits before tax in 2018. I might just go ahead and get myself a bank. Okay. Also on the polls, we have politicians kitting thugs with uniform, arms to impersonate soldiers. This is by the Nigerian army. You find that on page 8 of your Vanguard this morning, Monday, March 11th. We also have IPAC condemns ongoing electoral violence, military siege across Nigeria. You can find that on page 12. We also have court declares JTF's arrest, detention of middle-aged woman illegal, and awards 1 million naira compensation. You can find that on page 12. And of course, for some comedy, we have the Mr. and Mrs. You should look out for that one. Also, there's tension in Imo State over the non-release of results. You can find that in page 9 and page 17 of your Vanguard this morning. And also, we have merchant banks to go under pressure to reverse declining deficit growth. Merchant banks under pressure to reverse declining deficit votes. And finally, still on the elections, Dixon flays Army's invasion of Bayelsa. I'll say that again. Dixon flays Army's invasion of Bayelsa. You can find that on page 12. Neki, what do you have for us?
Okay, I have the Guardian newspaper with me for March 11, 2019. We have an INEC declaration of Buhari as polled winner unconstitutional, says Wamboise. And we have police arrest 105 electoral offenders in Imo State. And for the major headlines on The Guardian, we have UK PDP condemns military as INEC suspends reverse poll. And we also have Sanwo-Olu Beazu, Umahi, Emmanuel, Guayani, Abu Razak, Bugodu, Makinde, and Abiodun wins in the gubernatorial elections. That's on The Guardian newspaper.
Okay, on the Nigerian Tribune this morning, we have politicians arming thugs to impersonate military personnel, the Nigerian army. Akeredolu set up panel to probe Oba Akoko violence. And suspected hoodlums set Imo INEC on fire. Plateau lawmaker dies hours after winning re-election. You can find that on page 33. And the major headline this morning on Nigerian Tribune, Makinde, Sanwo-Olu, Abdulrazak, Yahaya, Ugwai, Bagudu win Oyo, Lagos, Kwara, Gombe, Enugu, and Kebbi states respectively. Tambuwal, Dakpo, Abiodun, Okowa, Udom leading in Sokoto, Ogun states, Akwa Ibom, Agbaje, Saraki, Atunwa congratulates Sanwo-Olu and Abdulrazak.
Okay, this is amazing. Obviously, the elections are making all the turns in the newspaper. If you want to get an in-depth conversation on all the things that we spoke about in the newspaper, just get yourself this morning's copy of the Vanguard, the Guardian, and the Tribune, okay, for Monday, March 11, 2019. Now, if you guys notice, besides the fact that the elections are the major conversations in all the newspapers, something really struck out to me this morning, and the situation in Rivers State. Now, INEC had to halt the polls in Rivers State because of some alleged violence and voter suppression. Neki, did you have anything about that? Did you hear about it?
Yes, and also the Guardian, the UK and PDP condemns the military as INEC suspends the Rivers poll, and it's really sad if this is the state in Rivers currently, because in the presidential election we've already had a pre-violent state in Rivers, and this happening is making the election being inconclusive currently in Rivers State.
Choma, do you have anything to add on this?
Yes, the election in Rivers State was marred with violence. A palace was sacked because of the violence. Militarization of the state made people not come out in mass to vote because they were scared. So the whole thing affected the election in Rivers State.
Adrian, did you pick up on anything concerning this?
I think that since there's so much violence, many people could not come out to vote, and that would, for me personally, would affect people, the vote actually, how it will come out, being that everybody's afraid for their life, and they don't want to, come out and risk dying for,
Okay, so you're saying that the possibility of voter apathy that happened in Rivers State is because they were afraid?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, yes. Probably.
Okay. I'm going to talk more on that when we come back. Today on the show, we're talking about the aftermath of the 2019 general elections, from the postponement to the presidential election to the gubernatorial election, which held in
Nigerian TV, and currently we'll be talking about the 2019 general election and its aftermath. But before we go further, let's see clips on how the electoral process is going through. How the electoral process went across Nigeria. We'll still be seeing clips on the violence that happened during the electoral process. Apparently, a lot of Nigeria had the opinion that this election in 2019 was supposed to be free and fair with violence-free environment. And now this clips we're going to see would see if these elections were actually violence-free or not.
Something else. They just burnt our votes. They just burnt our votes. They burnt our votes. Can't you see? They just burnt our votes. They just burnt our votes.
You're welcome back, and we've seen clips on how the electoral process and violence that happened in Nigeria. So, Adrian, what do you think basically about these clips we just saw?
Well, one of the reports I got during this last election was there was violence, being that, you know, first of all, people got to the election site. Some people found out that they were sharing cash around. Some of the polling centers actually had people sharing money around, and then there was a little bit of violence because certain votes didn't go in the direction they wanted it to go to. So, you know, you can imagine, you know, how those who came to bribe became really upset about it, and you're like, okay, you know, fights erupted and, you know, all that. So it's funny. And then another thing that also happened as a result of the aftermath election I would like to talk about is that when the elections were postponed, you know, a lot of things were affected. For example, people had shut down in business. People had planned their weekend, and you know, it's affected a lot. Even schools have been structured in such a way that they went on break just at that time. So imagine how people felt, you know. And then Anne Joyce, we were speaking a moment ago, and she was telling me of events that were shut down, even about the airport, you know, Choma.
Yes, the airport was shut down. Basically, there was no next day flight on ground because of the elections, and yet it was postponed, and the whole thing led to huge revenue losses across the country. The economic balance was reduced entirely.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was.
Could you imagine the losses?
Was terrible. The losses were terrible. Yes.
And you're talking about weddings that had to be moved.
Yes.
From 16
Exactly.
to 23rd.
Yeah,
And
weddings, events,
Yeah,
and
general
all.
events.
They had to move forward to that 23rd, on which that 23rd was now the date set for the elections. So they had to move further. You can imagine the losses there.
I mean, 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays of no business for Nigerians is a hard hit.
And you think about it, actually, three Saturdays, actually.
Yeah.
If you're going to add the gubernatorial elections, which
yes.
is something crazy for the economic situation that we actually have in Nigeria at this time. We know that we've been taking some hit with our economy, and for some reason it doesn't seem, sorry to say, but it doesn't seem like the ruling party have candid point on how we can fix our economic problems. There is big conversation on social media about some elites that are allegedly part of the ruling party, bringing out conversations that Nigerians should live within their means. Now, Nigerians have argued that. How are you telling us to live within our means when a lot of us have lost our means in the past few years? And it also seems like the people that are propagating these ideas of Nigerians living with their means do not actually live within their own means. If you're going to look at the kind of things that they have, from their houses, the structures, the cars, the fancy lives, how are you propagating that poverty is good when you do not live in poverty? But let's just focus right now on the aftermath of the election. Now, there was violence reported in some parts of it. After the presidential election that was moved to March 23rd, we could notice that for the gubernatorial elections that are held in about 27 states, if I remember correctly, the voter apathy was extremely visible. A lot of people did not come out to vote. Now, some of them opined that this was because they claimed, rather, that the votes that they put out for the first election, the presidential election, did not come to fruition. Right now, we have Atiku going to court saying that he will not accept the mandate, and he wants, you know, the INEC to produce the card readers because there were so many cancelled votes. And of course, we have people online telling us about children. Get this. Children voting in the northern part of the country, even though that you can only exercise your franchise from when you're 18 years old. I mean, what are we really saying is going on in this country? It's really getting crazy. And then, as we saw in the paper, the army has come out to refute the claims that the people in military uniform in River State are not the officials. Neki, what do you have to say?
Okay, that's really a downside on the military, because we're supposed to know the personnel in the military, and if the military is allegedly denying that it is not true, that those people are not of them. So who are they of? Who are they of?
We actually had reports saying that a lot of these personnel came without name tags on their shirts.
How can you
so they're saying that they are
military personnel who don't have name tags? I mean, that's just.
This is just eyewitness report from social media. It could be true, it could be false, but all we can really believe on is the official statement, which clearly says by the military that those were not their people. Now, we saw pictures of people moving with the ballot boxes, protected by security operatives in uniforms with guns. Are they also going to deny that those are not the operatives?
But it's part of the electoral process that security personnel are not supposed to be armed during the elections. So carrying a gun, it just makes the whole situation compromised. And so currently in Rivers State, the election is inconclusive.
And lest I forget, like people are calling this a coup in Rivers State. Now we're 20 years away from the last one. We've been democracy now for 20 years. Are we saying that the military is coming back?
I mean, okay, I don't see why we should have the military involved in a democratic system. First of all, democracy is for the people, and that people have say. So if we keep having interference from the military, I'm beginning to wonder, where does that leave us? So I think in Nigeria, we need to clearly bring in where we stand. Do you understand? Military is supposed to protect us. I think that's like one of their major responsibilities. Not oppress us, not take it the other way around and turn the tables around now. But we have constantly seen situations, even from this election, where the military is actually against civilians, and I don't think it speaks well about our country, even in international sense.
Sure.
Okay, in Rivers State, military men were harassing INEC staffs. Allegedly harassing INEC staffs. They refused to allow them enter into the office and count the votes. So no collation has been done so far in Rivers State. That means that right now, I think the election has been put on hold. Everything has been put on hold in Rivers State because of the harassment of ad hoc staffs and INEC staffs. The whole thing, about 17,000 military men were deployed to Rivers State alone. And I think that alone made people scared. Nobody wants any stray bullets to hit them. People are scared. Based on what happened the last time during the presidential election, people are scared because of the massive violence that happened in Rivers State the last time. Some people were killed, allegedly, in Rivers State the last time. So people were scared. That resulted in the brutal apathy in Rivers State, on the 9th.
You know, Joy, speaking of which, if I had a family member in Rivers State, I wouldn't advise anybody to come out and vote, because, I mean, you don't want your family member to die in the process of trying to express his electoral right. So personally, I feel that we should make Nigeria safe. You know, elections should be safe.
Military, of course, their role is just to protect us. And if the civilians are threatened by their presence, we would not be able to exercise our civic responsibility.
Yes.
So let's draw a fine line now and have a little bit of a comparison between the previous elections we've had. Now, in 2011, we had recorded about 1,000 deaths after the election, if you guys remember. And then after the presidential election, from the collations, we recorded about 53 deaths, and then there were some people that also died on the day of the gubernatorial election. Now, looking to our past president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, now he decided to concede defeat, saying that Nigerian lives were obviously more important than whatever political ambition that he has. Now, if we're going through something right now like this in this country with a certain level of turmoil, do you think that maybe, just maybe, our incumbent could have the same line of thought? If you remember, during his campaign, he said he was going for just one term. And right now, he's going for the second one. And Nigerians are saying that they do not feel very strongly about this. And also, remember, when he won in 2015, there was widespread jubilation. Nigerians were celebrating. There was nothing like that after this. So if you really did have the numbers that you claim you did, and I believe you, there's no argument here, how come we're not seeing that exact same kind of joy after the...
Say could be very judgmental and
sentimental.
We could be very sentimental. So you mean, so the bulk of people who probably came out and voted, and then they were expecting that we came out to vote, so we should get what we put out there, and then they don't get it, and then I could not believe I came out after election, even after the results were announced. You could see people sign like, I beg, please, this country, you know, different comments. Now, people were not happy. People were not excited, you know, the way they were before. Why? Because they feel their expectations from our present governor.
Not the Southeast in terms of voting, because we have a lot of Northerners and they come out in mass to vote compared to the Southerners. So if we're talking about the larger number of people that comes to vote, it happens to be the older women and the older men. You barely see young people go to polling units to vote. They just go to social media to vote.
Yeah, that's another thing.
We don't vote on social media. You vote with your PVC.
Exactly.
A lot of campaign were really going on, and I'm even sure even after the election,
Article 1 all the Twitter polls.
On Twitter.
Every single one.
As in, and on every other social media platform, and you would see Nigerian youth coming out to say they want to have a voice, you know, they want to be noticed, and then their voice just seems to end on Facebook.
Social media.
Now, this brings us to another point of conversation that I think is very important, and we need to have it. Now that the elections have been concluded, even though we know that in some parts some things were happening, I heard something about a supplementary presidential election even after our president has already been given the certificates. Shock me. But either way, we need to talk about the kind of Nigerians that we have now. Now, after the gubernatorial election and the local government elections, now I noticed something. I don't know if any other people noticed. There were two kinds of Nigerians. Now, there were the Nigerians that were heavily affected by the voter apathy, the people that did not just show up at all. Now, there were the other group of Nigerians that came out to fight for their votes. The Ogubulu women of Rivers State. This is a conversation that I think that we need to have. Now, I hope you guys have seen our socials on the screen. We have Facebook, Twitter, we have Instagram, of course, our YouTube page. If you like our YouTube page, subscribe. TSL Nigeria TV, of course, on Instagram as well, TSL Nigeria TV. On Twitter, my TSL Nigeria, and of course, facebook.com/TSL Nigeria. Let's have this conversation. Let's keep it going, even though the conversation seems like it might be ending here on set because they've told us that time was finished. Anyways. It's been amazing talking about this with you guys. Let's look towards the future of Nigeria, okay? We have 4 more years. Maybe, we don't know because, we're still in court. But maybe we have 4 more years of President Muhammadu Buhari. What are his economic plans for Nigeria? How are we going to get out of the economic of Nigeria TV? We'll be here again, God willing. Thank you so much for us on all our socials. We're here for you. Thank you and good morning.
Bye.